People often ask me about what inspired me, and of course my early friendship with my friend David, who had Down syndrome, was what propelled me towards this future. We grew up in an era when there were no services for people with special needs. They were often institutionalized, marginalized. They weren't allowed to go to public school. He was one of twins. His mother didn't know she was having twins at birth. And so she was confronted the day of his birth with the doctor saying, take this healthy boy home and we'll send this boy with Down syndrome. They called it Mongolism in that day. We'll send him off to the institution. Nobody knows you're having twins, and that'll be it. And she said, no, I'm taking my baby home. But you see, David was different than a lot of other young people with disabilities. He learned to read, he rode a bike, he swam. But my real encounter with people with developmental disabilities came in high school. My school counselor called me into her office one day and she said, you know, we've had some calls. There are a lot of mothers that need babysitters who have special needs children. And wouldn't it be great if we could have a group of kids that would get some training and would have a service project of being babysitters? We just started this club called Spade Club. And I was given a young man by the name of Jeff, who was 4 years old. And the first time I went to his house, he sat there and threw things at me. He couldn't talk, he couldn't walk. I left that day so discouraged. I had no hope for his future. And it was a real blow to me because I thought all special needs people were like my friend David. Well, the next week at our club meeting, we had a speaker come. Her name was Dr. Shalappy. And she said, I want you to go back and I want you to believe that he can talk, and you talk to him like you would any other child. Week after week, I didn't get any response. And then I saw at our variety store a little blow-up of Yogi Bear. I took this animal and you punch it, and I said, punch Yogi, punch Yogi. And he sat there and he smiled and everything. And I said, Jeff, punch Yogi. And so Jeff reached out and he punched Yogi. And all of a sudden he said, Yogi, Yogi, Yogi. And I heard him speak his first words. And that day, it changed my life. I believed that I could teach people who other people thought were unteachable.
I carry with me in my binder a letter written to my grandpa in about 1965-66, which describes my Aunt Eleanor's desperate pleas not to be institutionalized. Sadly, my Aunt Eleanor passed away in 1989, having spent the last couple of decades of her life institutionalized. Jean viewed people like my Aunt Eleanor as people. Jean envisioned a time when people with developmental disabilities would live in their own homes, surrounded by their own friends, engaging in their own interests and opportunities, living independently in their own communities. She was using language 50 years ago that we're finally adopting now. She was introducing concepts that are finally becoming mainstream today. With Jean's vision, with Jean's leadership, Edwards Center has become the archetype of the providers of the services we offer. We've established a set of values. We commit ourselves to excellence. We recognize people's individuality and abilities. We treat the people we serve and each other with respect. We know that living a productive life contributes to a full and meaningful life.
What sets us apart from other people who provide some like services? And it comes down to the sweet spirit that exists in our homes and in our programs. We want our people to live in clean, tidy houses with nice decor. Those things can be purchased. But the real gold standard is the interaction that takes place between our staff and our residents that live there. Are they engaged with them? Do they value the unique differences they have? So we have a checklist that we ask our staff to look at that says what the gold standard is. But then the last thing on there is there a sweet spirit in this place? And you'll know it when you come into it, and you'll feel it.
Edwards Center has 20 group homes, supporting 107 residents, over 300 participants supported through our employment and day programs. We have a community center, and now 50 years of support. Jean Edwards isn't finished blazing trails. She's involved in every aspect of Edwards Center's operation. By developing Edwards Place, she's providing families opportunities to stay together as a family unit with parents and adult children living together as long as they can live together, where families don't have to be broken up, and those parents know that their adult children are going to be provided for after they're gone.
One of our original goals was to create a lifespan of services for people. So we have people who have been here now for 48 years. And they're still alive, and we've gone through the whole adult life cycle with them. And to be able to be with them when they go to their heavenly home, I count it a real honor. Edwards Center has consumed the biggest part of the last 50 years of my life. Edwards Center has taught me how to change people's attitudes, to touch people where in their heart where they'll want to make a change. When we started, the attitude about what we were doing, people thought we were crazy to take on this population, and me spouting out about how they could hold jobs and live independently in the community that was a foreign language to people out there. Edwards Center made me an activist. You know, things weren't going to change if we didn't change some laws and change some things. And so I had to learn how to advocate with the legislature. I advocated for the deinstitutionalization from our state residential institutions. Edwards Center brought many people back to group homes from the institution. Edwards Center made me a college professor. If I was going to change the attitude and create another thing, I had to be a part of creating teachers and helping people learn. I was able to get grants and sponsor programs that changed the trajectory of services for this population. I am the most grateful for those who believed in me when I was first pitched the idea of starting this program. I was 29 years old. We incorporated when I was 30. So here we are 50 years later. And I think to myself, people believed in me. They believed in what I believed in. And they came alongside me and they supported it. And many of them continue to support it to this day. And that is I am so grateful for that. And as I look at young people today that have big ideas, I stop and listen, and I think, this sounds outrageous, but I must have sounded pretty outrageous when I was 29 and 32. And I'm forever grateful for those families that joined with me to help make this happen. And I'm secure in the fact that those values and those things that I hold so dear to my heart will continue long after I'm gone.